What's up, guys? Well, we did it. We got ourselves to the Multistrada V4S launch. Now, this bike has a ton of technical details that I could bore you with, or we could just get in the riding. That's what we're going to do. Quick couple details. This bike has wings, radar system, an IMU, which is an internal measuring unit, and it even has rocket launchers. Not rocket launchers, but the motor is going to be an absolute rocket with this V4. Super excited to ride it. Let's get some riding in first, and then I'll come back and we'll talk about the whole bike in general. There we go. All right.
They say in Back to the Future, where we're going, we don't need roads.
First time out on the new V4S Multistrada. Feels lighter than the old one, that's for sure. That's better. Hey guys, I know that I said I was going to review this bike, and I am going to review it in a pros and cons kind of way, but I want to get through all the positives first. This bike is by far and away the most technologically advanced, awesome, no holds bars adventure motorcycle on the market in existence. It is supreme. The electronics in it are just amazing. This bike blew me away. I cannot tell you enough how good the motor is, how good the transmission is, how good the slipper clutch is, the auto blipper, the ride-by-wire, the modes, everything. It is that good. The brakes, the suspension, all of it. The seat, the heated hand grips, the cornering lights, everything. This bike is top-notch. So, the motor, it's amazing. Slipper clutch, you feel like you were just invincible on asphalt. And it's kind of neat that Ducati took this bike and they said, we're going to put the most powerful motor in this bike, but we're also going to give it all the safety features. The most safety features they could stuff into this bike, they did it. Some of them are not even approved in the US yet, like the radar system. That'll be approved in actually, like, they're thinking June, July, and that'll be an $850 upcharge to unlock it once it's available. So it's not necessarily like you're going to have to pay extra for it. Everyone else, once it's available, will pay extra for it. They're just kind of pumping the brakes and giving people a moment, and they're saying you're not paying for it yet, but you're going to pay for it once it's available if you want it. The radar system, I know everybody's all going to be like, oh man, who needs radar? Who needs radar cruise control on a motorcycle? Well, you do. You don't know it yet, but the way that this radar system works, it makes riding so easy and so relaxing. So what you can do is you can toggle in the most or the highest speed you want to go, and then it will track the car or the motorcycle in front of you. It did it flawlessly, and it will slow down a little bit. It'll close the throttle bodies, and it'll keep you behind this car, and you can actually adjust even your following distance. So you could say you want to follow real close, or you want even more space. The close is not that far. It's not like, oh man, I'm a mile back. Then it also allows you to do passing. So you can turn the turn signal on and the bike will start to accelerate, and it'll expect you to move around the car or the motorcycle in front of you. Or you can just kind of lean out into the lane. Once it sees that you're clear, it will accelerate for you. It's really intuitive. It works super good. You don't know you need it yet, but you do. And hats off to Ducati for putting this on a motorcycle. They really pushed the envelope with that. Just like they did in 2015 when they put the IMU on the 1200. I'm going to link an article below discussing like what I like and how amazing that system is. With the linked brakes, the ABS, you know, it has traction control, wheelie control, it detects the lean angle. It's super impressive. They also have cornering lights on this bike. Like, it's just packed. It's a packed, no holds bars. This is a halo kind of moment in adventure bikes. I mean, sure, some other things are more halo than this, but as far as adventure bikes goes, this is ultimo hombre. Last man standing, no holds bars. The motor, let's get back into that. It is good. So never off-road did I find that I was like in the wrong gear. So first gear's nice and short, the transmission spaced properly, second gear's good. The bike is so smooth when you're riding off-road, you're just kind of blown away by it. You don't know if you're in second or fourth by vibrations or really by noise. The bike's kind of quiet, you have the aggro brakes on there. But it's just so smooth. Like, the bike really wants to be ridden smoothly, and you've got all this power on tap. You can actually step the rear end out just by kind of thinking about it telepathically. I don't think I found any faults with the power delivery other than, yeah, it will break the rear tire loose. Are you going to have to be mindful of that? Yes. Or you can turn on the Ducati traction control to level 1, and that will kind of save you if you know what you're doing. Level 2 will save everything. Every time you go into level 2, you know, it's not going to allow you to low side that bike off-road. And it goes all the way up to 8. 8 would probably just be so intrusive you wouldn't be able to do anything with it. It also has Ducati wheelie control, or just wheelie control at this point. That works really good. You know, it allows you to hold the throttle wide open. And speaking of throttle wide open, this bike comes with the auto shifter up and down, it auto blips. And that system worked flawlessly on this bike for us. I tried out the Ducati Street Fighter. It was a little abrupt, a little different. This one worked perfectly. Every time I put in good, positive foot inputs on the shifter, it would either kill or blip the throttle, and you'd be in the next gear you wanted. So if you blew a corner off-road, you could just get your downshifts done, get your braking done. You won't stall the bike out, and then you'll be able to continue on without having a bike that's stalled out, and you might be in a precarious position where you can't get a foot down and you'll have to dump it because the bike's off. Whereas with this, you can get it down in the first, the bike doesn't stall out. Makes a lot of sense off-road. Some people don't think they need the auto blipper either. I'm a huge fan of it, huge. The bike also has a slipper clutch, so on asphalt, clutchless downshifts, braking hard for a turn, coming in, leaning the bike in. I've even done some downshifts while in a turn, and the bike never felt unsettled, and that probably has a lot to do with the Ducati Skyhook. I think they say it's semi-active suspension, but let's just call it active suspension at this point. That active suspension keeps this bike planted. You can go in, and the adjustability that's built into it is awesome. So you can set it, there's 5 settings for how stiff you want the damping on it. You can't adjust preload, or not, I'm sorry, not preload. You can adjust the compression and rebound independently. That would kind of be nice if you were particular about it. I'm pretty good at adjusting suspension, so you know, I might want to get into that a little bit. But the preload you can adjust. Now, what you want to do is you want to adjust the preload if you're going to ride off-road in sand or mud to 0. Just the rider and as low as it'll go, and then adjust the front suspension to be firm, either the hard or hardest setting, and the rear can be anywhere between medium and hard, and then that'll kind of rake out the front. Which is kind of one of the downfalls for this bike, is when you get into deep sand or mud, it starts kind of wanting to push the front end, and it's hard to kind of steer. Oh, God damn it. 2 things about it could be the tires off-road. They had the Pirelli Rally SR, the regular Pirelli Rally, but in the 1917 setup, I'm not a huge fan of those tires. In the 2118 setup, Pirelli makes a great adventure tire. So maybe picking a different set of tires might help with that knife edge feel. It did catch me out a little bit. I did crash the bike, which is not good to do. Don't do that.
Well, I'll just bring it back,
But I did, and I broke one of the wings off. It has these winglets on there that are supposed to direct cool air up to the rider, while the radiators have tunnels that are going to blow the hot air out to the sides. So there's one that kind of isn't protected by a crash bar, and I happened to break it off. Somebody else broke one off too.
Oh man, another little side wing down, dude. What'd you do that for? I wish I had that on tape, dude. You scraped it on the ground.
Shut up, man. That was you.
Dude, I swear to God, you're missing one, dude.
Oh.
This is why we can't have nice things.
So it's not an isolated incident on the throttle hand side of the bike. Just take that off and you'll be much happier. You know, one of the things is going to be, how is it off-road? A lot of people actually commented on my first video about it. It's good. It's really good. It's easy to ride. It's not a heavy bike. It's not super tall. It does have a little bit more ground clearance than the old 1260, and it's actually a little bit shorter, so it actually turns a little bit quicker. Again, the track stands, and if you want to do all the kind of how to ride your big bike off-road and go slow thing, the bike does it really well. When it comes to going fast, you know, you don't really want to take your off-road Ferrari into a rock garden. You could, you just don't really want to beat this bike up too much because it's just that nice, and it's that good at being a adventure tour, a sport tour, and also just gravel roads. It's going to crush on those. So like, I don't think this is the right bike. Again, if somebody wants me to compare this to the Yamaha T7 or the KTM 790 or the Tiger 900, like those are little baby bikes compared to this. Like, pump the brakes, dude. They're two completely different animals. So the only real bike that I could kind of compare it to, because it has a 19-inch front wheel, which I wish it had a 2118 setup, I wish all adventure bikes did, would be the BMW R1250 GS. And the BMW R1250 GS is a little smidge easier to ride off-road, but it is nowhere near as good as this bike is on-road. And that's going to be the big takeaway for this one. When you're looking at your balances, like, do I want to ride, you know, deep sand, which you don't want to do it on a BMW or this bike? Do I want to ride this bike across the country? Do I want to feel how smooth it is? There's no vibrations. The transmission is like awesomely spaced and works fantastic, and I never had any false neutrals. This is the way to go. Another thing, while I'm comparing it to the BMW R1250 GS, is, you know, some people want to say, oh, well, you know, it's a Ducati, it's going to break, or the maintenance intervals. Look, I get it. There's a whole stigma about the Ducatis and their maintenance intervals, and they might break a lot, or things like that. This bike has a industry-leading, like, new standard 36,000 mile valve interval. Yes, the first generation Multistrada had a 6,000 mile valve interval. So every other oil change, you would have to go get your valves adjusted. This is 36,000 miles. There's no other bike on the market that has that kind of valve intervals, and it's because it's a spring valve train, no more finger fall or Desmodronic, Desmo Sedici kind of stuff going on in there, and it has stainless steel valves. So that's all good stuff. Things that should be celebrated about this bike. No one's touching that valve interval. Don't know off the top of my head, but I'm sure that the oil service is probably somewhere in the 9,000 to 10,000 mile mark. The brakes are phenomenal. It comes with Brembo style EMA brakes. They are a massive 4-piston monoblock caliper. They were like MotoGP and World Superbike spec just a few years ago. So the bike slows itself down really well. No real complaints there. You are able to lock up the rear brake off-road in any of the modes. You can set it up and you can say, no, I want to be able to lock up the rear wheel in sport mode, in off-road, enduro, or touring, or urban. So I'm sorry, there's 4 modes: sport, touring, urban, enduro. And you can program each one of those modes how you want. The menu and the whole display thing are super easy to use, as well as the radar system. So the whole interface, I didn't read a single owner's manual for this bike, and I was able to adjust all the suspension the way I wanted it, start working the cruise control with the radar right away. The there's a pretty slick app for connecting your phone and navigation. I don't necessarily enjoy doing that, but for the people that want to just be able to have their navigation in their bike, it seems to work really good. It's a pretty slick setup. There's a third-party app that they use, and it does navigation, so it's pretty it's the most dialed in I've seen of any of the kind of phone interface navigation systems. Again, hats off to Ducati for just packing in the most cutting-edge, top-of-the-line electronics and performance into a bike and then putting it out. Now for the elephant in the room, it is the price tag. It is $25,000. If you crash two of them together, it's $50,000 worth of crashed motorcycles, which can be a bit much for some people's taste. That's why this bike, I'm not going to say you want to take it and do hardcore off-road stuff with it, but as an adventure tour or as like, you know, I want to see what's down that gravel road, the bike is perfect. But also, you know, as a cross-country tour, this bike comes with the saddlebags on it. You can't get around it. So, again, great adventure sport tour. Can it do a BDR route? Yeah. I'd want to stay away from sand or mud if you could. There's another suspension tip that I could give you guys. I don't know if Ducati's going to like it, but whatever. You can pull the fork tubes through flush to the triple clamps. It'll rake out the front. I've done it on a Tiger. I've done it on the BMW F850, and it works really good to rake out the front and give you that stability when you're trying to push the front end a little bit through steep sand or mud. So I think that would be good to do. I'm a big fan of like going in and adjusting suspension and geometry. Some people are not. I'm sure Ducati would not like me to say that, but I've said it. Who's this bike for? If you want basically an off-road two-wheel Ferrari, this bike's for you. It's almost like an F1 car, maybe like a little bit older F1 car. It's really just the top pinnacle thing. If anybody tries to argue, like, you know, the BMW comparatively, the R1250 GS, you couldn't see it. I closed my eyes as I said that because it's not even worth making the argument. The BMW R1250, while it has a great motor, is not even close to this. The KTM 1290s, great motors, not even close. This is a giant leap forward as far as motors go, which, no, do you need all that motor off-road? People are going to make that statement. I get it, guys. We don't need all that motor off-road. But I like it, and on-road, it's awesome. And also, because of how smooth it is, it's going to be easier to ride. It does have a hydraulic clutch. I did notice, like, you can ride the bike really slow, and actually doing track stands or, you know, stopping and then going again, the clutch lacks a little bit of feel initially, but as far as a balanced bike goes, this bike balances way easier than the old Multistrada 1260. I don't want to talk too much about the Multistrada 1260 because that bike is not this bike. They're not even really that related other than the tank. So the Multistrada 1260 Enduro had a 9-gallon tank and it was big. This is a 5.8 gallon tank. It gets out of the way. The rider triangle is really nice. You've got a nice amount of room in between your legs, and the reach to the bars is really good. Standing, it's nice, it's neutral. If you're really hard on the gas or you want to go really, really fast, you may find that the bars are actually a little bit too close. That's my personal preference. I think that, you know, that's going to be a personal thing. I wouldn't run out and put bar risers on this bike. It's got a nice bend to the handlebars. TFT display's flawless. Anybody that says, oh, I don't want a TFT display, then don't buy this bike, because this is the pinnacle of amazing technology. And if you want an analog clock and a tachometer with a needle and a speedo with a needle, go buy something older. This is not for you. This bike is for somebody who's no holds bars, wants the best. And that's why I have a hard time saying what's going to be better than this bike. You know, as far as the big adventure tours go, you know, 1200 cc's and up, I don't think there's another bike that I would want to own. That's a lot to say. If you guys have any questions or comments, leave them below. I think I kind of want to leave that there because I don't know what else to say. It's really is just a phenomenal motorcycle. It just blew us all away. Thanks Ducati North America for bringing me out and including me. Really appreciate it because, you know, it's what I do. Hang out. Whew, I'm tired.
Here, Coffee, let me fix your goggle strap for you.
What's going on?
There you go.
Get out of here. Boys.
Que pasa, amigos? Knee pads already?
Oh, hell yeah.
I usually like to have dinner first, but okay. Wait a second. You guys hear that? Oh, I tried to fart, but it's just a little one.
That's gonna itch when it dries.
Sprayed a little bit on that one, man.
Dude, I forced it. It was loaded, locked and loaded, and then you guys, I didn't get it out in time. Sorry to cut you off there.
No.
Trying to get it on a GoPro too, it just takes too long. Yeah, I'm good.
You don't need those little plastic vents.
Jesus. There we go.
Yeah, it's not, man, it's too soft all of a sudden.
Yeah, what happened, clearly I was going so fast, I was creating too much downforce. And it
Sucked me down into the ground.
yeah, it sucked me way down. These wings are good for soil samples.
Hey, that's what the crash bars are for.
Woo, Robbie Boobabe! Hey, hey! Yeah!
I think I got it.